John O'Donnell, welcome to Brisbane and Big Sound. How are you feeling? You're looking fresh-faced.
Well, I arrived this morning, so I'm not wearing the scars and the bruises of other people who got here yesterday and did all of the gigs and showcases, so I'm fresh.
And you also wear many hats. Can you let me know some of the roles you're involved in?
I need the hats because I'm losing my hair. But the hats, since leaving EMI 2 years ago, I just wanted to kind of play in a number of sandboxes. And so some of the hats I wear are co-manager of Cold Chisel with John Watson. I've been writing a book recently with a couple of friends and authors, and the book is The 100 Best Australian Albums with Toby Creswell and Craig Matheson. I work on a project called My School Act, which is an online talent finding initiative, if you like, through the schools nationally, through schools nationally. And then I have worked on a number of A&R projects this year, a couple of which you'll see released. And that's something that I want to continue doing. So, and then speaking and at conferences, which is always a highlight.
So let's go back to square one. Cold Chisel, which you're co-managing. Cold Chisel, of course, is a legendary band within these borders. What's the experience been like so far working with these guys?
It's been fantastic. I was always a fan. They were one of the bands that when I left school and really started immersing myself in music that I fell in love with. And how could you not love Cold Chisel? They're kind of everywhere in Australia. And then the songs of Don Walker have kind of become part of the fabric of our nation. So always a fan, always an admirer. And then by chance, their manager retired late last year. And they were looking for a manager. John Watson and I put our heads together and said we think we could bring something to this that was fresh and exciting. It wasn't driven just by fandom. It's got that in there. But we thought we could bring something, and the band fortunately felt the same. So it's been great working with them. The fruits of that labour are still to be seen, really. And we haven't really defined where they may go as Cold Chisel in the future, but we're in the process of that dialogue.
Will there be a new album?
They're doing some recording, and they've made that pretty public, and that's been really exciting. They demoed some stuff in March, April of this year. They're doing some recording in the next couple of weeks, which until now is a surprise to everyone. And then they'll just see where that sits and how good they feel about it and where that takes them. There's no definite plan for an album yet, but they're in the right frame of mind to make new music.
And you co-manage them with John Watson. How does that work out? How does one co-manage an act? How do you split the tasks?
It's been really painless and seamless. We just sit and talk about the different things in front of us in the months ahead, and we tend to divide them up, talk about them a little. At the moment, I've probably done a little more of the recording and record company business. Their catalogue's still very viable and lucrative and successful catalogue. So I look after a little more of that. John looks after a little more of the live activity and maybe some of the strategic stuff around their business. But we haven't had an argument yet. It's been reasonably seamless, but we haven't been tested that much either.
Wait and see.
Wait and see.
So will there be much live activity?
Well, look, they've got 2 shows coming up in the next month. And again, they're looking at 2011 and saying maybe that's a good year to do some more stuff. Nothing written in stone yet. We'll just take it as it comes. They're 5 guys who love each other's company. They know that what they do as Cold Chisel is different to and more special, I think, than everything else they do singularly. And it's got magic around it, and they know that they should give that one more go or give that another go. It's just when, and when it feels right to all 5 of them. It's very much a democracy. All 5 need to feel good about it.
The book, you actually come from a journalistic background, so it's no surprise really that you've used these skills that you've been sitting on for some years to put words on page and publish. And also, interesting, you've shared the load with 2 others. Can you tell me about the book?
I'm good at delegating. The book, The 100 Best Australian Albums, is an idea that we all hatched together about 12 months ago. We realised that, if you like, the definitive book on the great Australian albums has not been written, but there's well over 100 that could fit inside the book, and that it was a really strong idea, something that was worth documenting, worth talking about. We think a really commercial idea as well. So we took it to the market late last year and we had a really great reaction. We got 4 offers from book companies and chose to work with Hardy Grant and set about writing it. And it's out in late October. It's out on the 27th of October, so that's really exciting. We're going to make some friends and enemies out of a book like that, and we'll go into hiding for a little while. But it was really great fun, going back and trawling through the rich history of Australian music and listening to hundreds and hundreds of albums to remind yourself, or in some cases discover for yourself, because we don't all share exactly the same age and taste. So the 3 of us, Craig Matheson, Toby Creswell and myself, bumped a list together over many, many months, had some arguments, settled on a list and then set about writing it.
John, you come from a journalistic background. How did you make that leap from journo to the head of a record label?
Well, it was made in increments, but I'd spent a number of years in the music game, in the music journalism game with Rolling Stone, and then started Juice magazine. And then actually John Watson suggested me for an A&R role at Sony. John was there. They were struggling to sign young new acts at Sony at the time, and John knew that they needed some reinvention of their A&R structure and suggested a boutique label, if you like, and that really he felt it needed to come from someone from outside. So fortunately, my good friend John Watson suggested me for that role at the time, and I jumped into the hotbed of major label activity and loved it. You know, started the Murmur label. John and I very shortly thereafter, a matter of weeks after I started, signed Silverchair, and then went on to sign Jebediah and Something for Kate and a number of acts. And so it was, I think maybe why I was the guy to make that step was that I was covering the music scene at the time. I was in touch with a lot of young bands. I was out seeing lots of shows. I was clearly passionate about my love of Australian music. So I think those things were, you know, what stood me in good stead to take the role. And then spent a number of years at Sony before moving across to EMI to ultimately become the CEO there. But love of music and love of Australian music in particular, I think, was the thing that defined my time at both those companies.
You've had a couple of years to reflect on your time at EMI. What are your thoughts now of the experience of running the major record label of EMI in Australia?
I loved it. I loved it. I had a complete ball. I think we ran the best Australian music company in the country at the time. And our success in sales and ARIA awards and all the measures, I think, showed that with Jet, Missy Higgins, Casey Chambers, Silverchair, Sleepy Jackson, etc., leading into Empire of the Sun. That was started under my time there. It was a fantastic run. I just started to get a bit stale. I could see EMI was changing. No, that was no surprise to everybody. They were changing quite profoundly. Not for the worse, but it was just time for me to jump out and do something different. I'd been there for 7 years, a little more, and I thought now's as good a time as any with all the change that EMI were going through. I just thought it's the right sign for me to get out and do something different.
And from the majors right back to the grassroots level, My School Act, can you tell me a bit about that?
Oh, look, that's a project that a mate of mine brought to me, someone that I'd worked with at EMI, and I was really taken by some of the work he'd done in setting up relationships with schools and departments of education around the country for this idea. They needed some strong music business minds in the mix, and that's why he knocked on my door, and I got excited by the work they'd done, and we joined forces. And we ran a first year of the contest and the idea last year, and we had a fantastic result and success. We had 170 artists register and apply and submit material. We chose an act as the winner. We flew acts in from all around the country. We did workshops, and then we chose a winning band, and they were a band called Glass Towers, who are just finishing their school now, and have recently, in the school holidays, recorded their first EP, which you'll see out across the summer. They're now signed to Sony Music, and I predict a really great future for them, but in small steps. They're really good.
Also, the Big Sound conference, finally, plays a role in educating the next generation of executives. How important is the role that something like Big Sound plays?
I think it's critical. You know, I was helped, mentored and befriended by a lot of great people in this business when I was younger and trying to learn what to do and how to do it and the way forward. Hopefully that's what a conference like Big Sound does, and I think it's definitely doing that. The panels that I've seen today have been intelligent, robust, well run, hopefully providing good ideas, feedback and input for the people, the aspiring people coming. Lots of great people from the business all around the country here coming together too, and socially getting together, sharing ideas, connecting. I think all those things are really, really important, and Big Sound's a great example of that in action.
John, thanks for your time.
Pleasure.